Hi, today we're going to use trig ratios to find missing angle values. So before we do anything with trig, we always want to set up our rules. What are those rules? Sakata. So this tells us what our trig ratios will be, how they're going to set them up. So first triangle, we want to figure out what is the measure of angle B. So that is our starting point. So from our starting point, we want to know, well, what's our opposite, adjacent, hypotenuse, all that stuff. So across from the right angle is always going to be the hypotenuse. Next to this angle B, we call that the adjacent side. And that's all we have, and that's all we need. So then we come up and look at our rules, and it goes, what uses adjacent and hypotenuse? Adjacent and hypotenuse? Right there, cosine. So we can say cosine of B equals adjacent, which is 8, over 17. We set everything up. Great. Now, in order to find our missing angle, there's a new button in our calculator that we need to do, and we might have to hit the second button to kind of get there. But we are looking for cosine to the exponent of -1. When you put that -1 up there, it just means our inverse. So how we set this up, we look for the button cosine -1, and then we type in 8 over 17 right after that. We end up getting and again, this is just a calculator thing. Just punch in, boom, you get it. The measure of angle B ends up equaling 61.9 degrees. Okay, so that's finding just one angle. What if we need to figure out what E is and F? Well, then we do this 2 separate times. So I'm going to start at E. So from E, I have my hypotenuse, which is across from the right angle, and my 12 is going to be my opposite side. What uses hypotenuse and an opposite? Sine. So we can say sine of E is opposite, 12 over 13. Because we are looking for the angle, we can use that inverse of saying sine -1 button, and then we punch in 12 over 13. What do we get after we punch all that in? It ends up coming up with 67.38. Good. Okay, we found out this angle, 67.38. It's a little ugly, but we can get there. Now I want to figure out what the measure of angle F is. Now I could do this 2 ways. I could add 90 plus that plus this to give me this missing angle, but what if I got this wrong? Then that one would be wrong. So we end up looking at this whole thing in a new way. Now I'm starting at F. Let's try a different color. Now I'm starting at F. Okay, my hypotenuse stays the same, but this time it's no longer opposite. This 12 now turns to my adjacent side. So what uses hypotenuse and adjacent? This time it's cosine. So we can say cosine of, what are we starting from? F equals, now we set up our ratios. We've got adjacent over hypotenuse, so 12 over 13. Now, just stopping here, both of these look very, very similar. We're using the same fraction, but we're going to be putting the same fraction in a different computer program. One's sine, one's cosine. It just means we're looking at it from we're relating different sides to each other. So that's all that means. Now, punch all this stuff in. Because we're looking for an angle, we're going to say cosine -1. So we might have to scroll through that calculator to find it. It might be on the second button or so on. 12 over 13. When we plug all that in, we end up getting 22.62. Okay, so 22.62. We have that, and we have that. And if you want to check yourself, we could always take this blue answer, add it to this, add it to 90, and they all should add up to 180. And when I do get that. That's using trig ratios and finding missing angle values.